issue of compliance, especially where we have safety standards in the marketplace, in crowded areas. You find people not complying with safety measures and all that. So what does infrastructure or lack of it play in the scale of disasters, fire disaster in this country?
For that very beautiful question. In our own association, Risk Managers Society of Nigeria, we prioritize prevention, not even response. All these discussions we're talking about response. Why can't we prevent fire? Can't we prevent fire? Why can't we educate the public about the impact and the consequences of fire outbreak? Every year we wait for Ember Month, and Ember Month comes with fire. In some issues, there are technical aspects, there are mechanical aspects, and there are even superstitious aspects of fires. There are a lot of, by my little stay in the FCT, Emergency Management Agency, I was able to discover that there was a market that always got fire between November and December, and same period. And I had to mount an investigation. I discovered that some of the marketers, they don't want to cross over with their left out goods, and so therefore some of the fires are triggered by the marketers themselves. And we had to call them and talk to them, to show them that we knew what they were doing before they shifted ground. So, and then if you look at it also, from the planning aspect of all our developmental infrastructures, you find out that fire is neglected. Can the fire service tell me that they vet all the buildings that are going on in Abuja or any part of the country before it becomes a building, a construction? So inferior cables are used in insulating the building, and then there are no fire defense equipment in most cases, especially public buildings. And where you find them, they are just decorative. They are not there. And there is no simulation that can, carry out those occupants of the building, like the Great Nigeria Insurance House. If they had simulations regularly, and then they know where to go, a lot of things will have been saved. And that is why also when we have fires, some people are dropping through the windows. And then from the government perspective itself, where are the infrastructure? If, for instance, we are building Abuja as a modern city, where are the fire hydrants in Abuja that a fireman can run and take a water and go back to the fire scene immediately? We don't have them. We are constructing roads, but no one single hydrant that is being considered as part of the road constructions. So how can we develop? And how can we really do? And you go to a very big city, you find out that they have only one fire station, and the fire station is located far, and the city keep expanding. So therefore, even if there is fire, no matter how early you call the firemen, because of the logistics and certain things, they will not get to the scene of the incident before the fire escalates. And people didn't know what to do before the firemen came. So they open all the windows. By the time you open the windows, the man from the Federal Fire Service has told you that the triggers are, one of them is also the breeze. And once you open the window, then you are now escalating the fire to another place. But if you can close all the windows, you confine the fire within that particular area, and the firemen will be able to come. But it's good Samaritans who are coming with good intention to extinguish the fire will start breaking the windows, breaking the seat, the roof, and then coming with different kinds of things like fire, water, even where there is no need for water. Because not all fire that you can use water to extinguish. So they come with sand. They are helping, yes. But because there was no prior education for telling people how to prevent fire, in their own homes, in their own offices. And when it happens, the committee, they're supposed to know what it is there. But they are not aware of this. So we need to really carry out a lot of things that will educate the public. And then in our own planning, we also make sure that we start early. We put all the fire defense equipment before you vet a building plan to be constructed. You make sure that it is there. And then the firemen should be part of the supervision of that building, because at every stage, if it comes to electrical installations, the firemen is supposed to certify that, yes, they are using certified equipment, they are using certified cable, and not just an inferior cable, because a lot of things, especially a building that is constructed, that is contracted, you find out that the contractor will have to reduce the quality of whatever that is used in our meant to be used for the construction. So we have to emphasize on prevention of fire, which we can, if we can really do the needful, ensure that all the necessary infrastructures, all the necessary education is given. We don't start educating the public until when it is Ember month. Why do we have to wait? Fire doesn't wait. It can happen in January, it can happen in April, it can happen in May. So why do we have to wait? All we need to do is keep educating the public, enlightening them, and then fire exit, we create fire exit where necessary, and ensure that those fire exits are working. Evacuation drills and other things has to be carried out. The Great Nigeria House, up to now, fire is still on in that building. What are we waiting for? Would we want another country to come and extinguish fire for us? If we can, then we have to reduce the number of floors we are even building, if we cannot be able to really extinguish. I know some places they have problem of platform. They cannot be able to have a platform that will take them to even fit floor to extinguish fire. Once there is fire above first floor, they will find it very difficult to get there. So all this is an investment that government is supposed to do, and to ensure that we save life and property. If you go to developed countries, you look at the long storied buildings in the developed countries. Firemen goes there and then they extinguish the fire. You may not even hear about the fire incident. But here, fifth floor, as I'm talking to you, is going to be a problem. What more of 10 and 20 floors if we have? And we keep approving such buildings, such floors, without commensurate facilities that will prevent the loss and property in that building. So we have to emphasize on prevention. All other things will come if we have put prevention at the first burner of our own priority.
All right, Dr. Abbas, thank you. I'm still going to stay with you, but just to let our, the viewer know that you can also send us your own concerns, your suggestions, your views, or what you think can add value to our conversation. But Dr. Abbas, I like that you have weaved in the element of leadership responsibility into our conversation. And I'm also glad that once you were a boss, over the state agency, emergency agency. And I'm just wondering, Lagos State seems to be one of the few states, investing heavily in equipment, especially equipment for emergency response, including fire outbreaks. In budgeting, what usually is contained in your budgeting? What are the kind of requests that you make, that form part of your larger budgeting?
With you, the budgeting system we have in Nigeria does not consider priorities. It is an envelope budgeting we do. And if, for instance, when I was the DG of an agency, one platform, if I say I want to buy in the FCT, will overshadow the entire budget of the agency. And then by the time you go to defend the budget, they will just give you an envelope. And the envelope will not even buy you what do you call it, a pickup that will work on that. If you really want to invest, you have to invest in fire prevention. It costs a lot of money because you need very good fire equipment, and you need also protective things for the firemen, because they go into the district. You can hardly bring out a fireman in the entire nation who is well kitted in this country that we have. And fireman will agree with me that yes, it is costly to keep one fireman, but it is not it is not a mismanagement, because a fireman is expected to go into the fire and extinguish the fire without being harmed. But do we have breathing equipment? Do we have protective equipment? Assault gear, all those things, do we have them? We don't. So we allow them to go. So our budget is not giving priority to those preventive issues. And that is why I said, even in some states, you find only one fire station serving the entire state capital. And it's supposed to be every district must have a fire service. A functional fire service with a functional equipment, with a trained fireman who can, and then with an alert system that can trigger response immediately. But in our own situation, what we used to do was that I activate NEMA activate fire service activate federal road safety. We all need these people around before. Even the firemen for their own protection, the police, the civil defense, and other securities have to cordon the area. And in most cases, our firemen have been beaten innocently for not coming on time. Meanwhile, it has not been reported. And sometimes it's even a wrong call. Somebody will just drive his car, go to the fire station nearby, report, and then lead the truck. By the time they come there, the mob will now jump on them that the fire has started a long time ago and they didn't come on time. So all this, we need to educate the public. We need to tell them, we need to really do the needful and ensure that we equip the firemen, equip the station, and then also decentralize the locations of the fire stations. And we can do that even by prioritizing taking the hazard mapping of the particular area. If in Abuja, I know the area that are hazardous to fire, then we start building fire stations, equipping the stations, and then training the firemen, giving them adequate protection. And then we move like that based on priorities. But we don't. You hardly hear any person as a leader talking about this year we are going to prevent the losses that is coming from the fire, from the trillions of this. Nobody is talking about it. So we need to change our attitude, and that is what RIMS, Risk Managers Society of Nigeria, is emphasizing and also propagating, that we have to carry out a risk assessment. First, you have to know your risk. If you know your risk, separate them. There are risks that you can be able to retain. There are risks that you can be able to transfer the risk to professionals like the insurance companies. So all this we need to do. And fire insurance is the commonest and the very cheapest insurance that you can buy in Nigeria. And it has so many perils that are covered, including the flood that we're talking about, impact and all other things that can cover. But all this, because there was no education in that aspect, so many people are being affected innocently and losing their own property and lives because of that. So we really need to change. Prevention first before response. Let the firemen have no response at all from January to December. And then they should now, the fire service also should embark on their own campaign by having stimulation and evacuation drills. In most cases, you go to a place, like I said, the exit point has been blocked. So if there is fire, there was a problem. And there was a time fire started from the staircase. Most people at the top floor were coming out through the window and dropping. Most of them died. Meanwhile, the fire was even under this thing, because there was no drill, there was no education, so people feel scared, afraid, and once they say there is fire, they become panic and all this. And even if they don't become panic, how do you escape from the fire incident?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Abbas Idris. You have raised a lot of issues from your, delivery there, and we need to change, the way we handle situation, especially when it comes to managing disasters in this country. Besides the fact that you mentioned lack of